Welcome to the Cory Lee Show, where our focus is on building leaders and transforming culture. My name is Cory Lee, and in each episode, I aspire to ignite something on the inside of you that encourages you to grow yourself and to make an impact on the world around you. Welcome to the Cory Lee Show. Welcome back to the Cory Lee Show. Hey guys, got an exciting episode for us today. And before we jump in, I just wanted to say I've been working on my fourth book, and that, I guess by the time that this episode is released, it may be available. It should be getting very, very close. And we're talking about, in that book, the lifestyle of a champion, how champions live their lives. They live their lives in a certain kind of way, the choices they make, the attitudes that they have, and just the way they carry themselves. And I originally wrote the book more geared towards high school athletes, college athletes, and but it's really available for anybody. And a champion is someone who became a champion the hours, the minutes, the days, and the years before they were ever crowned a champion. A champion is someone who is a champion on the inside before they are a champion on the outside. And talk a lot about that in there. A champion's view on failure, a champion, how there is a very different lifestyle a champion carries himself with, as opposed to being an underdog. Anybody can live like an underdog, and in fact, living like an underdog is very easy. It's easy to be an underdog because sometimes you can catch some wins. Sometimes you can slip in under the radar unnoticed. Maybe as a underdog, you can get away with not doing things with excellence, not putting in the time and the effort and the energy, and you can still come away with the occasional win. But a champion, once you become a champion, now there's a target on your back. There are expectations, and many people don't know how to live like a champion because they don't know how to live with the weight of the expectations, and really how to carry themselves. And so anyway, really, the heart there is to build men and women who are bigger on the inside than on the outside, that when the accolades come or when the opportunities come, they are prepared to handle the weight and the call of the responsibility that comes with being a champion. We were actually watching this series on Netflix, and I think it's called Sprint. And it's talking about all these sprinters, and it's kind of a documentary on these world-class sprinters. And one of the guys, He was the 100 meters Olympic champion. He won the gold in the Olympics, and it was the very first, I think he was from France. I think it was the very first French sprinter to win the 100 meter. Now, the 100 meter, that's the one everybody wants to win because that's how you get the title, world's fastest man, world's fastest woman. And so he wins, and it was highly unexpected, according to this documentary. And you could hear it in his tone afterwards about how the expectations and the burdens that came along with being a champion. He did not expect the pressure that came along with it. And it's really interesting to see what will happen, as at the time of this recording, the 2024 Olympics are on right now, and they have not done these events yet. But leading up to this, he had backed out of most all the other events because of injury and those kind of things. But as they documented him, you could just hear it in his voice that the pressure it's a lot. And so, I think it's easy to live like an underdog. And it's a lot more difficult to live like a champion. But you were made to be a champion. This world needs you to step into who God has called you to be. This world needs every ounce of gift, talent, and ability that He has given to you. And when you don't bring that forward, when I don't bring that forward, we not only hurt ourselves, but we rob the world of something truly incredible. And so anyway, leading into that book, it should be out sometime soon. And if it's out by the time this episode is released, we'll have it in the show notes below. But until then, you can buy one of my other books. And so today we're actually talking about seasons of change. I came across this article. I may have put this in another podcast because it's really been on my mind a little bit lately. But I came across this article in Entrepreneur magazine, and it was by Jack Dorsey. He was speaking at an event, and he was sharing about his thoughts on technology and freedom. If you don't know who Jack Dorsey is, like me, I didn't know. I had to go look him up. He is the founder of Twitter. And he made this statement in there. He said, we're coming into a time where you will not be able to tell the difference between real and fake. He said, with all the deep fakes out there, all of AI, with being able to create any video, any photo that you want, you will not be able to tell the difference between real and fake. And in this video, Elon Musk actually, he put a comment under this video and said, how do you know we're not already there? How about that, right? Like, we're coming, these are two of the most brilliant minds, most innovative minds on the planet right now. And they are saying we're coming into a time where you will not be able to tell the difference between the real and the fake. And I just want you to know that you do not have to be deceived. I believe there is a way that you can know the real from the fake. And it's really out of a relationship with Jesus Christ. His Holy Spirit can reveal. You can have discernment. And that's why in that I've been talking about, I believe the most valuable commodity on the planet is wisdom. Wisdom and discernment are going to be the most valuable commodity on the planet. The cheapest commodity on the planet is opinions. Everybody has a pile of opinions that they're just willing to heap upon anyone willing to listen. But opinions are cheap because they do not bear the weight of responsibility of the outcome. And so me and you, if we're sitting there together and I can say, well, here's my opinion. I think you should do this. I throw my should all over you. You should do this and you should do that. That's my opinion. That's easy for me to throw my opinion out there because I don't have to bear the weight and the responsibility of the outcome of the action you chose. And so opinions are the cheapest form of, it's the cheapest commodity. Wisdom and discernment are going to be the most valuable commodity. And so I'm titling this Seasons of Change and how important it is to know the season you're in. In the Bible, there's this group of people called the sons of Issachar. And it said they were people who understood the times and the seasons, but not only that, they knew what their nation needed to do. They knew what Israel needed to do. I think it's important to know the times and the seasons that we're in globally, but also individually. Where are you at? What season of life are you in? But then the next step of that, it says they knew what Israel needed to do. See, it takes zero talent to call out the problems in culture. It takes zero talent to call out all the issues with government or business or local problems. Anybody can call out the problems, right? Anybody can do that. But we want to be men and women who offer solutions. We want to be solutionaries. And so instead of looking at all the problems, it's great to... it's great to see problems, but what are we going to do about it? What is a solution? And so I want us to start thinking like that. But knowing the times and seasons that you're in, and y'all know if you follow me for any period of time, you know I like me some Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn, I fell into Jim Rohn and studying him when we had our first business, and I hired our first team member. And it was at that point I got really scared, really nervous, because now the decisions I made did not just affect me and my family. Now they affected somebody else's family, and I had to grow. I had to get better, right? So I started reading the books and the courses, seminars, and all of that. And one of the first guys I came across is probably still one of my favorites, Jim Rohn, old school motivational speaker, and he had a very unique philosophy on life. He would say things like, don't wish for less problems, wish for more skill. Don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. He would say, if you would change, then everything would change for you. And when you change, the things you look at begin to change. And so he also he had this saying, he would say, you can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. And that's really what we're going to dive into today, is a part of Jim Rohn's Seasons of Life. Before we do, I want to read to you, I think this is, I forgot to put the chapter and the verse here, but I think this is Psalms 46, maybe 46, verse 5. Anyway, this is in the Passion Translation. Maybe you can look it up, or we can look it up, but it says, know the importance of the season you're in, and a wise son you will be. But what a waste when an incompetent son sleeps through his day of opportunity. Ooh, what a waste when an incompetent son sleeps through his day of opportunity. Man, we all know that there are 4 seasons 4 seasons. You got summer, fall, winter, and spring. Winter always comes after fall. For as long as history has been recorded, it's been that way, right? It is no surprise to us when in April, the flowers start to bud and bloom and the temperature begins to shift. If I'm a farmer, I know that I should be planting in the spring, cultivate in the summer, and there should be a harvest in the fall. And Jim Rohn, he says that there are 4 major seasons of life, kind of going with the theme of summer, spring, winter, and fall. And one of the things he says is you got to learn to handle the winters. They come right after fall with regularity. Some are long, some are short, some are hard, and some are easy. But you have to learn to handle the winters. You must learn to handle the nights. They come right after the days. You have to learn to handle difficulty. It comes right after opportunity. You got to learn to handle the difficult seasons of lives. There are all kind of winters though, right? You got the ones where nothing works out. You got the winters where disappointment abounds. You got the winters where everything you do seems to be a challenge. But you know what I've found? I've seen people who take what should have been just a season and they turn it into a lifestyle. They keep on harping on that one time that one person did that one thing to them years ago, and or they talk about how hard something is. You know, things seem to get harder and harder when we keep talking about how hard they are. You know, I've also seen people who, they have this entitlement mentality where they think nothing should be difficult. They think everything should come at ease. And because nothing should be difficult, bitterness starts to set in. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Cory Lee Show. Y'all, I am on a mission to build leaders and to transform culture. So if you're looking for a speaker who speaks directly to the heart, a mentor to come alongside you and your team, or if you're in a position where you're looking for a personal coach who embraces where you are and also believes in who you could become, then I would be honored to walk this path with you. Simply reach out to me on my email at cory@coryleeleadership.com. Look, let's make your vision a reality. Contact me and together we'll navigate the path from aspiration to achievement. Your transformation, it starts now. And I just want to say, I think I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but that thought has come to my mind a few times. That why is this so difficult, right? But you can't allow that to take root. I mean, come on, man. You were made to do hard things. You were made to do hard things. A friend, Chris Payne, he shared this story with me one time about the biodome. And I've probably shared it in another episode at some point, but it's a really powerful story, an allegory that goes along with this. And he says, these scientists, they created this biodome they tried to create this perfect environment for all these plants. And so they put all these plants in there, flowers, trees, fruits, all that stuff. And each one of them had the perfect amount of sunlight. They each had the perfect soil. They had the perfect amount of watering, and they tended to it very meticulously. And the plants started to bloom and blossom and grow really quick. And over time, they came in, and one day as they came in, one of the large trees had fallen over. And they're like, man, what in the world's going on here, right? There wasn't like a hurricane could get in here, and no strong wind could blow this over. There's nobody been in here messing with this stuff. Like, what has caused this tree to fall over? And as they went to study this tree, they realized that the tree had really grown really tall. It had become top heavy, but its roots were really small. And they started to discover that, this tree did not have to battle the elements. They didn't have to struggle with the heavy winds and the heavy rains. But it's only through the heavy winds, whenever it was blown to the left, that the roots would shoot down in the opposite direction and dive deep. Whenever it was blown to the back, it would shoot those roots down deep into the front, and those roots grew deep. With the strong winds, it actually caused it to be stronger. That's how it developed, was battling the elements. And so how do we respond to the difficult moments of life? I like what Jim Rohn says. He said, you know what? You can't get rid of January by tearing it out of the calendar. Like, you can't sweep it away. You can't pretend it's not going to be there. We can't pretend it's not there and that it just doesn't make it into our calendar, but we can get stronger. We can get wiser, and we can get better. Don't let bitterness set in. How about you get better? The second one is springtime. And see, what he says is in springtime, you got to learn to take advantage of the spring. Spring is called one of my favorite words, opportunity. I like some opportunity, right? Spring follows winter. And isn't that an amazing place for it to be? Right after difficulties, opportunity is waiting. Here's the number one key during this season of life. Take advantage. See, here's the deal. Just because springtime is here doesn't mean that you'll look good in the harvest time. You got to do something. We have to get good at one of two things, planting in the spring or complaining in the fall. And that's another thing that Jim Rohn says is one of my favorite thoughts. He said, the greatest form of maturity, think about this, the greatest form of maturity. How mature are you as a leader? How mature are you as a son and a daughter, as a father and a mother, as a parent, as a leader in your community? How mature are you? He says the greatest form of maturity is at harvest time. He said this is when we must learn how to reap without complaint if the amounts are small, and how to reap without apology if the amounts are big. Man, that is so good. A sign of maturity is at harvest time. How do you handle if the harvest is plentiful? How do you deal if the harvest is meager? And it reminds me, I wrote this in my book, Leading with Insight, 31 Days of Wisdom as Leaders, and we went through the book of Proverbs. There's two Proverbs that really stand out to me. I think one is Proverbs 17:3, and the other one is it's either Proverbs 27:21 or 21:27, but they start out the same way. It says, gold and silver for the furnace. They both start out that way, but the second line is very different. It's very opposite. And so just as gold and silver for the furnace, they get put in and the impurities rise to the top. That's how you purify it. Well, in one of these, it says gold and silver for the furnace, but the Lord tests the hearts of men. And that's kind of like, how do you deal with the trials? How do you deal with the difficulties? And in those moments, how do I handle the difficult moments? The things on the inside start to come to the surface. They start to rise to the top. See, everybody has a good attitude when things are good, but it's only when difficulty comes that I can actually see, do I have a good attitude, right? It surfaces to the top. And in those moments, if it's not what I want, if I realize that I don't have a good attitude, what do I do with that? Do I allow the Lord to skim that stuff off the top? So, I do not like what's in the depth of my heart right there. Something was revealed that I do not like. Lord, would you take that off? I lay this at your feet, and allow him to do his work. When he reveals it, it's not to shame or to make us feel guilty. That's of the enemy. Condemnation, shame, and guilt, that is of the enemy. The Lord wants to convict because he wants to heal. And so when that junk rises to the surface, he wants us to turn to him. He wants to heal that stuff, not bring it to the surface so you feel guilty or so you feel ashamed. He wants us to turn, and so he can heal that. And so one of them says, gold and silver for the furnace, men, God tests the hearts of men. The other one starts out the same, but the second line, it says that, but men are tested by their praise. And as you look at that, there's multiple ways that you could look at that, but I think it all still points to the same thing of like, how do you handle when you start getting all the accolades? When men praise you, how do you handle it when people start to give you all the recognition that you kind of been wanting, right? Like when your name gets called to the front, when you're on the mountaintop, how do you handle that? Do you like, well, of course, I should be here, right? Do you get arrogant? Do you get prideful? Or do you say, oh, no, all shucks, right? And you feign with false humility. That reveals something in my heart. I think it also is revealed in what we actually give praise to. Like, what am I praising? Well, what I behold, I become. There's a song about that. What I behold, I become. Like, what do I actually praise? I'm actually going to give preference to. I think another way is, what about how do we respond when other people are praised for the thing we think we should be praised for? Ooh, that'll reveal some stuff, right? And so harvest time is, I completely agree with Jim Rohn here. The greatest form of maturity is at harvest time. This is when we learn how to reap without complaint if the amounts are small, and how to reap without apology if the amounts are big. Something I love, Bill Johnson says, he says, if you don't live for the praise of men, you won't die by their criticism. And in a sign of maturity, he talks about, it's not false humility of, oh, no, not me. It's just give a simple thank you. When people recognize you in public, they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to come and pat you on the back, but they did. And so when they do, just give a simple thank you. And then in your private moments, climb into the Father's lap and say, Father, I receive this and I hand it back to you. And so kind of going back to the springtime, if you planted in the spring, if you did all the things you knew you needed to do with the best of your ability, with the excellence that you know to do, then there is no need to apologize. There is no need for false humility. If you did not do what you knew you needed to do, and you didn't do it the way it should have been done, hey, then you can't complain with the results, right? You can't complain, but continue to grow, continue to get better. Here's why I'm saying all that. Many of you have been doing the work. Many of you have been in difficult seasons. Many of you have been just grinding this thing out, and you're like, when is this going to end? When is this winter going to end? And what I want you to know is there is a springtime coming. Springtime is coming, and I think you're about to see the fruit of your labor. But what I want you to know is there is still work in the springtime. The work in springtime looks very different from the work in the wintertime. The work in the harvest time is very different from the springtime. In springtime, I'm sowing, I'm planting, I'm doing all of that. Well, in the harvest, when the fruit appears, I still have to harvest it. There is work to be done. It just may look different. And so I want to encourage you that I believe you guys that are in those challenging seasons of life, that opportunity is around the corner. But it's not opportunity to kick back and relax. There is still work to be done. It may just look different than what you've been doing. And so, hey, seasons of life, again, the importance of knowing the season that you're in, that actually leads you to the next thing of knowing what you should do. I used to have a mentor. He would say, Cory, it does you no good to be in the right place at exactly the right time if you lack the awareness you're even there. You can be in the right place at exactly the right time and not even know it. So we want to be aware of what season I'm in. If I'm in a winter, but I think I'm in a harvest, I'm sorely mistaken. If I think I'm in a winter, but it's really harvest time, I'm going to miss the opportunity. And so know the season that you're in and take advantage of the opportunity that you're in. So, hey, I hope today has added value to you. I hope it has encouraged you. I would love to hear some of your feedback, so feel free to give me a comment, reply. Also, share this with a friend or family member. We want to encourage them as well. One of the best ways that you can continue to help me to get this message out is to subscribe and share it with other people. I would love just to add value to as many people as I possibly can. And so one of the ways you can help me with that is to subscribe, comment, and share. And so I appreciate you guys. I hope you have an awesome day, and God bless.
3, 2, 1. Okay.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope I have added value to you. And if you have found value in this episode, let me know. Drop a comment and make sure you share with a friend or family member. See you next episode.